Welcome, everyone, back to another episode of Combating Cancer. My name is Gwen Kelly, and I'm your host. If you're new here, I just wanted to say hi and thank you for being here. Truly, whether you're listening during treatment, in remission, supporting someone you love, or grieving a loss, this space was created with you in mind. For those who don't know me, I was diagnosed with stage 3 astrocytoma brain cancer at the age of 19. And I created Combating Cancer because I know how isolating this disease can feel, not just for the patients, but for families, siblings, caregivers, and everyone quietly carrying the weight alongside them. Cancer is brutal, it's unfair, and no one should have to fight it alone. Today's guest is someone whose story stopped me in my tracks, not because he had cancer, but because of the role he played in someone else's fight. Today, I'm joined by Johnny Hamann. Johnny is a former college baseball player, a real estate entrepreneur, and the founder of a nonprofit called Hamann's Helping Hands. At the heart of his story, Johnny is a younger brother, a best friend who watched his brother face a 1 in a million cancer diagnosis and then became his bone marrow donor. His story is about faith, family, and what it looks like to turn unimaginable pain into purpose, especially for children spending Christmas in hospital rooms instead of their own homes. Johnny, I'm so glad you're here. How are you doing?
Good. How's it going?
I'm good. I'm really glad we connected. One of my good friends, Jada, reached out to me and said, you have to have Johnny on. He does amazing work. His story about his brother Joey is awesome. And I remember thinking, why didn't I hear about you sooner? So I'm really grateful you're here today. And before we get into everything, I'd love for you to tell listeners a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Johnny Hamann. I'm 22 years old. I just graduated from UW-Platteville in the southwest corner of Wisconsin. I played 4 years of college baseball there. I got a business degree, and I actually got into some real estate. And after getting my first property, I knew you could really do anything you wanted to do. You just have to go and do it. And that's what led me to starting this nonprofit of Hamann's Helping Hands. So yeah, right now I'm full-time in real estate, owning and managing some properties. And my free time, I just do it for fun. But I'm the founder and president of Hamann's Helping Hands. And there we make it our mission to ensure that every child spending Christmas in the hospital receives the best Christmas possible. Yeah, I guess I don't know how deep down you want me to start or what the timeline you want me to go from, but I can definitely do whatever. So.
Let's start with your brother getting diagnosed, and then we can backtrack after to Hamann's Helping Hands.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do that. So, yeah, it would have been this time of the year, and our family is a super tight-knit, close family. We grew up out in the country, small community. At the time, we went to a Catholic middle school. Our family is super faithful. We really walk the walk with God. It's November of the year, and my brother's in high school at the point. I'm in 8th grade, and my brother was just about ready to be starting varsity basketball, and he's really feeling a lot of pains in his hip or his leg. And finally, he did go to the doctor. They did the X-ray, and it came back ooh, this is a little scary. I remember very vividly. We were actually riding to school together, and he's just like, oh, they said that we had to check my leg or my hip or whatever, and it's probably just pulled muscles or some ligament stuff. But they did say that it could be cancer, but they just had to say that for disclosure reasons. And I was like worried at the time, but he reassured me like, no, they just have to say that. And yeah, we ended up getting the news that it was indeed cancer, and not only just a cancer, it was a 1 in a million rare form of bone cancer called Ewing sarcoma. It was such a bad diagnosis that the future was unknown, really. And so this smacks us right before Christmas. It's the end of November, and they got a plan together. And, by the grace of God, we believe that he came through and helped put the right people in the right places. And they put something together, and the blessing of the doctors performed a miracle for sure. Diagnosed then at the end of November. And as they were rolling through things, they started talking about starting the first treatment. And when chemo really started getting the talk of like when the first one is going to go, they said, we're actually going to put you into the hospital on your birthday, which is December 22nd. And my mom tells a story now that I started the nonprofit, but she went to bat and asked for like, hey, since this is the scenario, can we bump it back, a few days and maybe start after Christmas and get one more Christmas and birthday at home? And the doctors looked her square in the eyes and said, like, ma'am, I'm sorry, but cancer doesn't give a shit about Christmas or birthdays. It's like, if we want a chance at this, we got to go. Yeah, we buckled up as a family, as a community. We had so many supporters, family, friends. The Heinzes were one of them, Jade and them guys. It just was like an overshadowing of God for sure. And it brought us together. And, I always say like, we were a faithful family. It's just like, why us? But, it's one of those things where, I think he chooses it for the right reasons. And yeah, we kind of leaned on him and just literally put our faith into the Lord and the doctors performing their profession. And so, yeah, he went through 15 or 16 rounds of chemo and radiation, very, very aggressive. But yeah, it was definitely being a brother, being outside of it. It was like, this is my best friend. This is really hard to see. And I struggled a lot. I really did. And so, yeah, we spent the first year at Christmas away from home. Like we were a small town, close knit family. And we actually ended up going to Rochester, Minnesota and spent the first Christmas away from home. You know, it's not a destination Christmas. We didn't go to Florida and have a cool time. It was a different atmosphere for sure. And we were like, well, this is really sucky, I guess. But our whole family came up, made it the best it could be. Mayo Clinic and St. Mary's Children's Hospital, they made it like we were at home, not only for my brother, but for myself, my siblings, most importantly, my brother, by all means. But it was just such a comfort. And so I knew at that moment, like I always want, that this is pretty cool. Definitely didn't think like I'm going to start a charity or anything. But as the years went on, we spent another Christmas in the hospital and we're just like, well, we've been here before. And then, yeah, so it comes to find the news that he is cancer free, but then we get hit with another obstacle. Well, this was like the percentages games I was talking about of 1 in a million. And then only this for any percent of the, people get their bone marrow that doesn't survive and needs this. And then, so just every single thing that could have went wrong, I felt like it just kept going wrong. But like I said, God had us for sure. And so, yeah, then his bone marrow was failing. So he needed a transplant. And so the doctors came to us and kind of asked, like, we're going to test all you guys, your immediate family first. But, don't be alarmed. It's only like 30% of the time that even one of you guys are an 80% match or better. And so we all tested and we had no expectations going into it because otherwise they're going to go to the global, web and try to get a donor from anywhere in the world. And we were just, praying. I remember my mom and dad turning around telling us that, well, we do have not only one, but two matches. And it wasn't even 80%. It was both 100% perfect matches.
Literally just got like chills. God was my biggest supporter through this entire thing, like you're saying. And it's just so amazing to see how God can work through that.
Every time I talk about it, it does. So, yeah. And so that's kind of the cool thing. And I remember my mom looking back and it was myself and my little sister that were both 100% perfect matches. And they're like, you guys can kind of decide if you want to or not. The doctors did say they preferred you, Johnny, because you're male, closer to the statue, everything. But if it doesn't work, it's not your fault. Like it's, they kept doing that. But like, that was like another ticking point for me of like getting over things. It's like, maybe this is something that I can't control and I can't help. The whole time I was just like, no, I don't care. They even have it. I mean, it's kind of protocol, but we were even talking with like, I don't know if counselors or something going over that. Like if it doesn't work, all these things. And I was the whole time, that was another tick of God helping me personally. I don't know. I just kind of got over that. And it was like, maybe here, this is your way of being able to help and have your hand in on this. And so, yeah, I was just all on board. Like, let's do this. Like, not a big deal. So then, yeah, we did the bone marrow transplant. They drilled 2 holes into the bottom of my back, right above my butt, I guess, and on each side of my spine. And they syringed it out. They just said, picture like drilling 2 holes and then like a syringe. And then it basically looks like a heavy blood. It's just red. And so I was so adamant to getting over there and seeing it go into my brother because I was at Mayo Clinic and he was at the Children's Hospital across town. And so it was a full-on surgery. And so I was like, but going into it, I'm like, I'm getting over there because the same day, like I'm getting over there to see it go in. I'm getting over there. And as soon as I got out of operation, they like took me to my actual room. And as I got there, like I jumped out of the bed to get over to the other bed. And they're like, whoa, because you can't walk. Like essentially your legs aren't good for like a week. And they're just like, whoa. Like they kind of set me back down and they're like, you can't walk. And I'm like, hurry up. I want to get out of here. I want to go to my brother. And then they're like, well, you got to drink a juice, eat a granola bar, and go to the bathroom before you can go. And yeah, it was like sandpaper going down my throat. But I got all that done and got over there. And doctors were just in disbelief. They're like, we've never seen someone recover so fast from a bone marrow transplant, but this kid was on it. And so I got over there, got to see my brother. Yeah. And so then it wasn't as exciting as I thought it'd be. It was super exciting and the blessing and everything. But it was like, I get there and I thought it was just going to be a cool operation or something. I don't know what I was picturing. But it was just an IV bag and it like dripped into a system. And so I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like I made it at least.
Yeah, I think that's so incredible. It's interesting because when I was going through cancer for a long time, my mindset was very much me. And honestly, that makes sense. You're in survival mode. You're trying to get through each day. But once I created this platform and started hearing other families' perspectives, it really opened my eyes. I didn't fully realize how deeply it affected the people around me, the ones who loved me the most. when you're in it, you have those horse blinders on, you're focused on staying alive. And then afterward, you look back and think, wow, there were so many people carrying that weight with me. It's given me a whole new level of appreciation for my family and everything they went through too. It really makes you pause and feel nothing but gratitude.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's cool to see. Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to speak for my brother. I think it'd be great for him to hop on this podcast and do a different part to it. But yeah, the whole time he definitely perceived it as like, my family's, I'm doing things through, like he looked out for us so much more. And it was definitely survival mode for him. And like but it was nonstop. Like he was just he showed it on the outside of just like, no, just pray. Like he's smiling and like, we're just like, you're right.
That's what you have to do when you're in it. Speaking from a survivor's perspective, your mindset is, I don't want my family going through this. You want to be the one to carry it. You put on a brave face even when you don't feel brave at all, because you know it helps the people around you. And with this being your best friend and you having the opportunity to help him through the bone marrow process, I'm curious what those conversations looked like. I'm sure there were these moments where you both confided in each other about the fears and worries. Did that happen separately, together? How did those conversations take place?
We didn't really have that conversation, at least that I know of beforehand. Me and him were just both like, wow, this is pretty cool. They walked us through it, and it's just such a blessing now. Like his DNA is literally my DNA now. And so like the bone marrow was actually changed a lot. So I changed his entire blood type. It's weird, but like his features, like, we were both late bloomers in puberty and stuff. And he was kind of working through it during that time. He definitely, like, as like this kind of went on and he kind of finally had puberty and everything and growing, he just like his facial features and everything, like just a tick more. I don't know. I see it at least, and some family do. And then same thing with his taste buds and things like that. He was super a picky eater, didn't eat a lot of things, this and that. And I'm like the type of guy, I'll eat anything, like just put it in front of me. And I like the burgers and this and this. And all of a sudden he gets through it. And he's like the exact same way. And my parents joked that like, well, they already had to put up like with one of me, because I was definitely like not the troublemaker, but the guy that was wild man. And so now they got two of them they got to deal with.
Yeah, I had no idea that happens, that it can change like the taste buds or like even the person's features, especially when they're going through puberty. I think that's very interesting. You talked about this a little bit earlier, that you started a nonprofit, and I love that. As I told you before we started recording, I work with a nonprofit. I think it's so meaningful. We also don't take any of the funds. How did this entire thing start? I'm assuming because of the Christmas spent in the hospital with your brother. But just walk me through just the inspiration behind all of this.
For sure. It was after the bone marrow transplant. I'm like my junior year of high school. And this is like we're in, I don't want to say the free and clear, because you never are with cancer. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things you never know. It's what's God's plan. But, the bone marrow transplant, like you're supposed to be in the hospital in this confined room and the special thing and everything for like 100 days of like a jail cell, essentially. And it was like a small room where we had to wash our hands like twice to get into to see him. And he's supposed to be there 100 days. And God just kept working with us in this favor. And, I think he made it out in like 60 days or 70 days or something, like just crazy. Like, just kept snowballing into like it was downhill. And then it's just like, okay, but, we're just so thankful and grateful. And like, it was like a true miracle. And we're like, the doctors call him a miracle. And like, we're just so thankful to the Lord. I kind of had this tick when I was 16 in my junior year of high school. I was like, I wanted to find a way to give back. And this is zero knock to my parents by any means, but it was like one of those things where they were looking out for me. And it was like, I always kind of had this businessy drive, but nothing where I am now or was and I want to be, but it was like, I had this idea of like, I'm going to take this summer money, I'll take $500 of my own money, which was a lot of time. So I was going to take this money, buy a grill, raffle it off. And like, I was like, Mom, what I'll do is I'll raffle it off the community. We'll raise a couple thousand. And then I just want to pick one kid in the hospital spending Christmas in the hospital, and let's just give him the best Christmas presents ever. And like I said, my parents kind of looking out for me. My mom's like, well, that's not how that works. And then I'd go to my dad and he goes, well, you need a raffle number. You need that. And I was just like, you're right. And so then a couple months later, I'd go by and I'd come up with a different idea of same concept, but like, what if I did this? And it was like, oh yeah, but you got to do this. Yeah, then you got to do that. Like I said, they're looking out for me. They didn't want me to get myself in deep water and too much and stuff. But by the time, fast forward, this kept coming about. And, it's just like I said, we're still grateful. Things are great, but it still stayed in the back of my mind. I wanted to find a way to give back. And by the time I got to college, like I said, as I was graduating high school and small school, baseball team, we weren't good at all. We were a really bad baseball team. But I loved baseball. It was my sport. And I was decent at it. And I was like, I want to play college baseball. everybody in the small town was like the small town mindset, kind of the same thing of, now we don't do that from our school. Like, yeah, and then, oh, you're not going to make it. Just some subtle things. And just kind of like, almost like you felt like you were there and you had to listen to them like, oh yeah, you're right. And it's just like, at that point, I was like, you know what? I don't care what you guys think. If I go there and I don't make the team, like, I want to know for myself. Like, I'm going to go try it. And so I, reached out to the baseball coach and got it lined up. Freshman year of college, yeah, walked on, made the team. And so I was like, yeah, this is pretty sweet. You can do about anything you want to do. And then right about that same time, I was thinking, like, I didn't want to go through these 4 years of school. And I'm only a couple months into college. I must not have been liking it or something, because I was like, well, I really don't want to go through 4 years of school and then just get a job and, work aimlessly until I'm 65 and retire. Like, that started spinning my mind. And so I actually seeked out a mentor in real estate. My grandpa was in real estate a little bit, and, that flipped properties growing up. And I was like, loved it, really wanted to do it, but like, how do you do it? And so he's like, well, read this book, do this, do that. And I just kept doing it. And then pretty soon it led to me buying my first house at 18, my freshman year of college. So as soon as I did that, I was like, looking back, I'm like, wow, you can literally do anything you want to do. You just got to go do it. And the house thing was like kind of against my parents' thing of, they were just like, hey, you sure? I was like, screw it, I'm going to try it. Like, go bankrupt, whatever. And so,
Hey, if you don't try, you don't know.
Deal with it later. And so, that worked. And then that's when I was really like, you know what, like, screw this, I can do this nonprofit thing. And I didn't even go to the parents again. I went and found the same script that I did with the house, found a mentor that is in the nonprofit space, runs a nonprofit, kind of went to her, told her my grill story, the exact same story that I was telling my parents. And then I told this lady, and she just, just because you got to find the who, and she built it off of that. And she's like, oh, so you're saying this and this. And she took the vision and made it like what Haman's Helping Hands is now. And so I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Like, yeah, let's go with it. And so it was my sophomore year of college, and I just went home from that meeting to my dorm room, and I made the logo up and I launched it literally out of my dorm room my sophomore year. Super unofficial. Like, I was crossing the T's, dotting the I's. I made a separate bank account, but it was still through my personal bank account and all that stuff. Kind of just did a Facebook page and launched it. And it was a great success. It was $5,000 in the first year. And so I was like, this is awesome. And so I went to her afterwards, like, how do I make this an official nonprofit? And then she helped me with that process and graciously donated a lot of the funds to get the, 501c3 and lawyer and accountant and all that stuff. So that was another blessing. And then from there, it's just catapulted, and we're up over $120,000 raised, and we're approaching 3 years of operations now. It's been, just a kind of our family, me running it with my family, assisting, helping. My brother is like kind of the face of the franchise, and have him come along and tell the story to these children. And we go back to Rochester, St. Mary's Children's Hospital. And actually, it usually lands up on my brother's birthday. So what a full circle moment of being charged into the hospital on his birthday to now being able to go there willingly and deliver Christmas presents. Such a blessing. And then we bring $20,000 worth of presents each year and stuff like that. It's just wonderful, full circle moment. There's a lot of God stories within the nonprofit we've already had with helping certain patients that I can get into too, but it's been wonderful. And that's where it's at, and the whole story.
That's amazing. Now, for the people that are listening here, obviously this is an amazing cause, and I know so many people that would love to get involved with this. How can they connect with you? How can they donate?
Absolutely. Yeah, we got a website. It's hamanshelpinghands.org. Hamann is spelled Hamann. And then otherwise we have Facebook, Instagram, and those are just Haman's Helping Hands or HHH-Foundation. And we have a Venmo as well. That's HHH-Foundation as well. So yeah, you can get involved by, donating. The biggest thing I always tell people is some people want to get involved, help, do things. And really it's like connecting. If you're not able to give, follow, share our content, and you might be able to reach it to someone or a company, or like if you know a company or a family foundation or someone that writes grants to places like this, your one text message that you send could turn into $30,000, and then I would give you the credit along with the people that donated it, but give you the credit of that $30,000. So I always like to remind people of that too. The power of sharing and just engaging and just being behind what we do is so tremendous. So
yeah, I think that's awesome. I'm definitely going to link everything down here because I just think that this is so amazing, like what you've been able to do. And also, I always say you just got to have one person that believes in you, and then you just see how much it spirals. I can tell you so many times I've had family members in the hospital during Christmas, and just, the spirits are down. And even with like little kids too, I'm just sure that you definitely make their experience so much better. And I think that's so unbelievably selfless of you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That's the biggest thing I always like to say now. And I definitely had the first year and the first moments like, oh, we're doing this for the Christmas presents. But after doing it, and we've done it 3 times, it's going to be our 4th time going there. It's nothing about the presents. I'll be honest. Like, we bring some cool presents, like PlayStation's connected my brother and I when we were 3 hours apart, TVs, big stuff, like big, cool, awesome presents like that Santa doesn't always bring. And so the only thing that we bring that just presents won't, it's true. Like, we inspire hope. And that's the biggest thing is they get to see a real living version of someone that was in their shoes. And not only just the patient, but the siblings get to see us, my 2 sisters, myself, they get to see us, come up to us, talk to us, ask us for advice. The patients get to go talk to Joey. How did you get through this? Talk to him about struggles. Like this, it's a Christmas time. And then the parents, this is probably the most, I think, beneficial part. The parents understand, like, they know what it feels like to get told you have 6 months, 9 months with your kid. And so they get to connect with my parents. My parents are there. And, my mom spends a lot of the time. It's great. But it's just so like the hope that we bring and the smiles that we bring is just that smile that we want to push one day further. If we can get them to smile through one more hard day, so that's our goal. It's not even about the presents. It's not about, how much money we give or what we do. It's truly about the kids and the families and the parents. Like, everything with that just makes it all real, all possible, and kind of the reason why we do things. So,
because you guys are literally living proof of this was a terrible thing that happened. See how you can get on the outside of it. And I think that's the most important thing, Cancer is so terrible. And especially when you get those statistics and they're like, hey, you're not going to make it. You got to have people that are like, hey, this is an outlier. I made it. The odds were against me. Now let me show you how I did it and inspire hope in others. Because I truly believe that when you're going through cancer, whether it's yourself or your family just supporting you, if you have one person that's just inspiring hope, like, mindset is everything. I fully believe that. You got to have trust in God. You have to be like, I'm not accepting this diagnosis. I'm putting my full trust in God because he knows my plan for my life. And I just think that's so amazing that you guys are literally living proof of that.
Absolutely. That's exactly correct.
So before we wrap up, I just want to ask you one more final question. As you being a sibling, watching your brother go through treatment, what advice would you give to other siblings that have to watch their sibling go through cancer treatment?
Absolutely. I think the biggest advice that I can give is to stay tough and stay true to what your guys' friendship is. Like, don't let it alter anything. But I think, in my point of view, it's just like, try to keep things as normal as possible. I don't want to speak for anyone else, but I feel like these patients really just want a piece of that normalcy. And so when they're able to kind of sit back and, just like the good old days, are like, this is what it was. Just don't change and be that person for your sibling. Help them get through it just by being you and being there and being strong and showing them that you're strong with them.
I love that. Thank you again so much for coming on, Johnny. I think you are an absolute inspiration of, how everyone should be.
Thank you so much.
Well, that is the end of today's episode of Combating Cancer. I will make sure to link all of Johnny's information down below. Please go and check out Hamann's Helping Hands. If you or someone you know would benefit from this message, please feel free to share it. And as always, if you or someone you know want to come on, share their story, or have a business inquiry, please feel free to reach out to me. I will chat with you guys all next Wednesday.